I can. 我可以。我可以。I will. 我会的。我会的。I see. 我明白。我明白。I agree. 我同意。我同意。I promise. 我保证。我保证。I can. 我可以。我可以。I will. 我
Hi, John Seiler here with Behind the News. Behind the News with John Seiler, and Ali is helping me today. He's my translator from Chinese. I'm learning Chinese from this pretty Chinese girl, and we're all going to be learning Mandarin Chinese now because they're taking over the world. And I have this story here today. So we're being bothered by all these attacks in Venezuela, Iran, who knows, wherever. South America, Greenland. We're going to take over Greenland. Meanwhile, here's what China's doing. Put Ali down. It's New York Times. China announces record surplus despite tariffs. $1.19 trillion in 2025. Beijing floods the world with exports aided by a weak currency. Well, it's not the currency, really. That's misleading. And we have this one today. This is an op-ed. Today's New York Times by Eswar Prasad. Eswar Prasad, a professor of trade policy at the Dyson School at Cornell University and a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. The Brookings Institution is kind of a liberal think tank, liberal moderate, and they're kind of the equivalent of the Heritage Foundation, although Heritage has had some problems lately. But anyway, this is interesting what his analysis says here, because I keep emphasizing this, how China is taking over everything, and we're oblivious to it mostly. We're being bothered by all these wars. Trump wants to increase defense spending another $500 billion a year. So it'll be, instead of 1 trillion, which is too much, it'll be 1.5 trillion. And he campaigned on cutting it. Now he wants to increase it. And it all comes from debt. We have $40 trillion in debt now after this current budget is done. $40 trillion. The economy is only 31 trillion. It's much bigger than the whole economy. And so let's see what this guy says. China's whopping trade surplus threatens global commerce. What does he mean? I mean, they're sending stuff out everywhere. Trump has these tariffs on them, sometimes 15%, sometimes 100%. He's saying another 25% on China for because they're getting a lot of oil from Iran. I think 90% of of Iran's oil goes to China. But last year, remember, he put tariffs on them 2 times, and then they said, okay, no more rare earths. And now rare earth metals go into cars and airplanes and weapons. So we're supposed to have a war with no rare earths. How's that going to work? No weapons. And so so let me go through this again here. And all right, he says China's trade surplus, the amount by which it exports exceed its imports, hit a staggering $1.9 trillion in 2025. The figure shows just how much China is an exporting powerhouse, but it also is a sign of economic weakness and of how its practices pose a greater danger to free trade than even President Trump's tariffs. Now, this is a faulty analysis. There's different kind of economists. There's the Marxist, communist. I mean, nobody follows them anymore. Socialize everything. But then there's the Keynesian, which is what this is, where the emphasis is on spending, on domestic spending. But then there's the more free market schools like the supply siders, which I am partly, and there's what's called the Austrian School of Economics, which is not just the country Austria, but all of economics. The top guys were from there. Mises, Ludwig von Mises, and Friedrich Hayek. Hayek got the Nobel Prize, I think it was 1975, in economics. Anyway, they emphasize free markets, much more, and investment. Investment is good. And the thing that this guy gets wrong and the Keynesians do is if you invest money, eventually you can spend some of it. You save money, you make money in the market on your investments in your stocks or whatever you buy bonds, and then you, with the dividends you or the increase in the value, you take some of that, maybe you invest it in something else, and then you take another part of it and maybe buy a bigger house. But the main thing is the investment increases, whereas just the spending doesn't. And of course, we don't need to spend money; we need to live. Uh, so this guy is wrong. He says the tariffs undoubtedly took a hammer to free trade. No, they didn't. Uh, I'm sorry, they did. Uh, Trump's tariffs. Uh, but as I've said before, if you have some modest tariffs, which we had, then you can offset the increases in or the decreases in income tax. We had income tax cuts, we had capital gains tax cuts. This is in America, and we had cuts in regulations. All very good, and you have to get the money somewhere. So Trump's 15% tariffs a reasonable trade-off, and actually it helps foreigners because in America, if we have higher investment, then we're spending more, so we can buy more foreign stuff, even though it costs more. So that's why. But the problem with Trump is he's using it as a hammer, as attacking other countries for his foreign policy. That's not good. It's quixotic. It's erratic. That's the real problem. Okay, and this guy Prasad says China has tried to assume the mantle of being the promoter of globalization and the defender of multilateral rules-based system that, that underpins global trade, which incidentally the United States played a major role in setting up. That's true. We set up this global trade system after World War II. It really benefited us. It benefited everybody. Everybody got wealthy. The world did, and including China. And now we're smashing that. Trump's going to steal Greenland. He's going to attack Iran. He's going to do whatever, all kinds of sanctions. And he hasn't stopped the Ukraine war. He hasn't told the Europeans that let's cut out the Ukraine war, have peace with Russia, work things out, which would which would help the Europeans. The Europeans are they're just falling apart. Uh, anyway, so let's go further here. Again, what China's doing now is they're just flooding the world with cheap stuff that they're making. That's a good thing. Everybody likes it. In Africa, Latin America, America's tariffs don't affect those countries, although Trump sanctions do. But if you're in some African country and you're offered $100,000 Cadillac or a $50,000 BYD, which is even better, which one are you going to get? Of course, you're going to get the Chinese one. And let me point out my main point here is we spent $8 trillion on the Mideast wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. That's per Brown University. They keep a tally of that. We wasted money on all these other wars. Trump wants to spend even more on the on attacking Iran. Who knows how much that's going to cost? Right, he wants this, as I mentioned, this $500 trillion more. I mean, $500 billion more a year for defense. Where's that money coming from? Borrowing it? Eventually, it collapses. It collapses. In the budget, it's $1 trillion just for interest on the loans, the federal loans. $1 trillion. You think that could do some stuff like how about tax cuts? More tax cuts. We could use that. Or how about paving some roads? Fix up the interstates, build some schools, although that should be a local thing. Anyway, it's just being wasted on all that. Okay, China's economic model has certainly delivered growth, right? But in an unbalanced way. No, it hasn't. It's true that they have problems. They built too much real estate. Hey, wouldn't that be a good idea in America? Too much real estate. Maybe I can afford this apartment here in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. 78 degrees right now. I love it here. But maybe if we oversupplied housing, then we could afford it here. And in your state too, probably. Okay, here. So that investment is, of course, good in that it raises productive potential. Yeah, no kidding. More, more production means more production. But with real estate investment declining, this is in China, because of failing housing prices, Hey, I'm sorry, falling housing prices. Imagine that, falling housing prices. Actually, in California, our housing prices are declining a little bit right now, a little bit, because they went up so high. Uh, a lot of this investment has been undertaken by state-owned enterprises and is neither efficient nor profitable. That's true. Their government invests a lot, but then ours does too. Trump is investing in all these tech companies now with tax dollars. And isn't it better to spend too much money on housing that the government builds than all these wars that just destroy things that killed 1 million people in the Middle East, killed 8,000 Americans, and just disrupted everything? Sorry, Ollie. He's telling me he wants to go back to learning Chinese again. He wants to meet a Pekingese. Yeah, there's this Pekingese next door. Okay. Uh, then also he says, still, all of this investment has meant the production of lots of goods. Sounds pretty good to me. But he says that sounds like a blessing, but has instead spawned a problem. Domestic consumption in China has not kept pace with rising output because Chinese households are reluctant to spend freely. Now, that's just stupid. The Chinese people are saving money because they're making money and they're looking to the future. They're going to save money. The value of their stocks goes up because China's economy is booming. Uh, Ours is doing pretty well too, actually. They say 4.7% growth. That's good. Uh, but they're investing in it. And then, like I said, down the line, they get the dividends or the increased stock price, and um, they can either invest it more or spend a little bit of it, spend a little bit extra. It's called, the economists actually call it the wealth effect. When wealth goes up, then people spend like, this is in America, spend like 10% of it. So let's say your house goes up in value $100,000, or let's say your stocks do, that's easier. You're going to spend 10% of it, but you're going to reinvest 90% of it because then you can make even more money. It's the good thing of the market system. It depends on capital. That's why it's called capitalism. So that's this folly, but we have something here. Uh, Also, New York Times, a couple. It was on Tuesday. Flying taxis. China has them. Drone lunch deliveries too. Flying taxis in China and drone deliveries. That's what they have over there now. I could order something here and it would deliver me instead of with DoorDash. It would deliver me by a drone if I want to get a pizza or a sandwich or something. And so they have this in China. It's like, when I was growing up, they had this TV show called The Jetsons, and people were flying all around in cars, and they had a robot maid, and I think they had a robot dog too. Oh, they wouldn't like that. Uh, so, so they're building that in China, and what are we building? Bombs and more aircraft carriers we don't need, more more tanks and missiles and whatever. Instead, we have enough of those. We have enough to blow up the world. And I had something here. Let me get it. Okay, there we go. Well, it's not here. Anyway, it was a picture of a city in China. They're building all these cities. You can find these online. People go over there, tourists, and it's just amazing. They have all these gleaming new airports, all the housing buildings. Some of them are empty, like the article said. But it's just amazing what they're doing over there. And they're just building everything. And another thing is oh wait, here we go. I keep mentioning this book because it has important stuff in it. This is Xi Jinping, The Governance of China. He collects his speeches and stuff. And I guess in China, everybody has to read it. They have a quiz. But here we go. This is his speech, February 21, 2023, 3 years ago. Boost basic research and achieve greater strength and self-reliance in science and technology. Hey, how about we do that? And he says here, strengthening basic research is urgently required to achieve greater strength and self-reliance in science and technology. It is the only path to building China into a world leader in this domain. The party and the state, that's the Chinese Communist Party, the party and the state have always attached great importance to basic research. After the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, the party Central Committee called on the country, quote, to, quote, march towards science. That's a great slogan. I mean, the Chinese aren't great at slogans, but that's a good one. March towards science. Why don't we do that? Why doesn't America march towards science? Instead, we have all this DEI, ESG, MSG, political correctness, all that stuff instead. And we're wasting time on giving these kids $100,000 debt on their college loans. There should be no college loans. It should be free. And the way to do that is half of the things they're learning in school should just be eliminated. They're just wasting their time there, running up debt, uh, and the rest should be on science. What about culture? Well, you should learn culture through your religion. Culture comes. The word cult means culture comes from cult. My old friend Russell Kirk, the conservative philosopher, used to say that all the time. Culture comes from cult. So whatever your religion is, that's where you get your culture. And we should let the religions teach it. Have their own schools, private schools, not funded by taxpayers, to do that. So you have in America we have Protestants, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and many other kinds now. So each should have its own. The government shouldn't be telling us what culture is. It should come organically from the people in the religion. And if there's atheists, well, they can have their culture too. But so, um, and another thing I wanted to mention was I'll put a link to it in the description. Uh, uh, Judge Napolitano has these great programs on YouTube, and he had a debate between Dinesh D'Souza, the conservative writer. I actually knew him 40 years ago in Washington. He was a young immigrant from India and wrote a number of books and many articles on conservative stuff. He's good about he's against DEI and all that, but he's for all these wars. And countering him on the other side of the debate was Dave Smith, this comedian who's he's like I think he's 43 years old. He said he was born in uh, 83, so 43 or 42 years old. And it was a good debate. I urge you to watch it. And I think Dave Smith, I agreed with everything. He's libertarian. He's against the wars, and he kept pointing out what I just did. These wars cost all kinds of money. Where are we getting the money from? Where's the money coming from? And he pointed out the debt now $40 trillion after this next budget, $40 trillion in debt. And meanwhile, China, they didn't really talk about China except D'Souza mentioned we need to take Greenland to get the rare earth minerals. Now, otherwise, China's going to take it over. That's Trump's excuse. China's going to take it over Greenland. That's silly. China doesn't need Greenland. They have science. What I've been talking about here, science. And they have all the earth minerals they need in China, and they refine them there. That's the key, the science to refining it. And they're refining the refining of the science. What are we doing? We're just starting it out. Trump sensibly has started encouraging investment in rare earths. That's good. But we're way behind. Now, what's going to help us get back up to speed? Is it investing in rare earths? Some kind of emergency here. I'm near the police department. Anyway, what's going to get us back to parity with China? Is it wasting money on more wars or investing in science? I think it's pretty obvious. It's investing in science. That's what we need. And D'Souza mentioned we need to America needs to be the one leading the world, and like we did after World War II. He said after World War II we went and reformed Germany and Japan, and and we need to do that with other countries like Venezuela and maybe Iran. Maybe we'll be attacking Iran, but the problem is maybe some of us have a little experience there. I was not in World War II, but my father was. He occupied Germany after World War II, captain in the U.S. Army. They're coming to take me away. Um, are we going to do that in Iran? Are we? No. Trump says no boots on the ground. You'd need a 1 million-man army at least to do it. Maybe 2 million, and how many would die? So that's not going to happen. Moreover, this is the atomic age. One of the reasons we took over Japan was we had the atomic bomb. We blasted them, and then they surrendered. Well, 9 countries have atomic bombs now. Maybe the 10th is Iran. I don't know, but they potentially could get one from from Pakistan, and they're allied closely now with Russia, the #1 nuclear power, and China #3 after us. And D'Souza was saying, well, we need to maintain our lead in the economy. Sorry, Dinesh, we're #2 now. Our GDP, according to the purchasing power parity, is 31 trillion. China's is 41 trillion. So they're a third bigger than we are already, and they're building flying cars and and uh, and drones to bring food to us. And he mentioned, I think, how we need to defend Taiwan. But I've mentioned before, I don't think China's going to attack Taiwan because Taiwan's population is decreasing fast. So just wait them out. China has that problem too, but everybody has that problem now. And so it's just silly to waste our money on all these things when we need science. We need science. And as I mentioned before, in China, China has 10 of the top 12 scientific institutions in the world. 10 of the top 12, including #1. #2 is Harvard, and #9 is the Max Planck Institute in Germany. So they're just going ahead of everybody. You have first science, then engineering, then you build stuff. And by the way, that's how we won World War II. That's why we had the atomic bomb, and we had long-range bombers to carry the bombs. The B-29 bomber was 2% of the economy, and 1% went to the bomb. So 3% to that one project, although the B-29s also firebombed Japan before the atomic bombs. So we're not in that position anymore. And with atomic bombs, really, any war that gets out of hand is just going to kill everybody. So I'll have a link to that, and I'll have a link to President Xi's book. Let's see it once again here, where he says, March Towards Science. That's a really good one. And let's see, we'll finish here with
会的，
want to make some
我
more?
会的。I see.
Oh.
我明白。我
Oh, remember to like and subscribe this. Put a comment if you'd like. And Ollie is inside now, but we have Ollie, our treats here that you can. I have an affiliate link. These are really good treats. He loves them. And also my Substack, johnseiler.substack.com, where you read and hear about stuff that you won't anywhere else, because this is the new age of China. If we're going to get back up to compete with them at all, we need to get serious.
明白。I agree. 我同意。我同意。I promise. 我